Hi, and welcome to Ivy English. I'm Karen.
And I'm Chris Gorski.
Today is October 3rd, and we are on page 10 in your magazines. And today we're going to talk about a strangely attractive smell in a very unlikely place.
Well, I wonder how many people in the world will agree with us when we say that gasoline smells good.
I don't know if it smells good, but it has an attraction.
Yeah, I enjoy the smell. Let me just say, so today our story is about the sweet, dangerous attraction of gasoline. And I agree. I like the way it smells. When I was at the gas station as a child, this smells pretty good. I'll take a big sniff of the air.
Another thing that we often appreciate of gasoline is the rainbow colors we see on a puddle when there is a layer of gas on the top, or gasoline.
There, next to the neighborhood gas station growing up, there was a sledding hill, and next to the sledding hill, there was a dirt path, and the road was very uneven, and so we'd have large puddles that would collect after heavy rain, and we would ride our bikes through it and get covered in mud. We used to call it mudding. And we'd also get covered in gasoline. And so we were filthy and covered in gasoline. And it's thinking back as an adult that was probably not the best idea. But as a kid, you had a great time.
That's right. And I remember seeing those rainbow colors and thinking it was so beautiful. And I think I told my sister or some adult, I said, "Oh, that's so pretty." And they said, "That's gasoline." It made this sort of like something I shouldn't like, even though it was quite beautiful.
Yeah, I suppose that's one of those funny things that not everything beautiful is great.
There's something kind of similar. Have you seen the movie The Gods Must Be Crazy?
No.
Okay, you need to see that. It's about the Bushmen of South Africa. It's the Kong people. And in one scene, I think it is a four-wheel vehicle has come through, all-terrain vehicle. And then the Bushman looks at it and he says, "And the earth was very beautiful," because it was the track prints left. And it had a very pretty pattern to it. And it's very funny in the movie because it's this horrible vehicle, but it's made a beautiful pattern in the earth.
You know, I have seen parts of this. I didn't remember the name, and then you describing the story. I did see parts of this when I was a teenager. We had some guys that were really into certain kinds of comedies. And this was like in one of we were at a summer camp, and there's this one cabin with a TV, and we'd all gather around and watch films like this.
It's absolutely worth watching, and it's also got a part 2. The reason I am so interested in it is because I teach phonetics, and the Bushmen speak a click language, so they have sounds like and it's really fun to hear them speak the language in the film. All right, let's get back to our topic for today. This is something else left by a car that somehow attracts us, even though it's not a really healthy thing. Our title again is The Sweet, Dangerous Attraction of Gasoline. There is something about the sweet smell of gasoline that appeals to many people. Gasoline is made from a mixture of compounds, including benzene, which is added to enhance the performance and fuel efficiency of gasoline. This chemical is largely responsible for gasoline's unique smell. Benzene has a naturally sweet scent that our noses are highly sensitive to. It takes just 1 part per million in the air for the human nose to detect its presence. Interestingly, in the past, benzene was used in aftershaves and even as a solvent for removing caffeine from coffee. However, these applications were brief due to benzene's classification as a known carcinogen and its potential risks when it is inhaled in high concentrations or over extended periods.
There are 2 theories that attempt to explain why individuals are attracted to the smell of gasoline. The first revolves around the power of scent to arouse vivid memories. Smells can trigger specific recollections associating familiar aromas with nostalgic experiences. The second theory focuses on the physical effect of benzene on nerve receptors. Inhaling benzene and other hydrocarbons can temporarily suppress the nervous system. This may result in a euphoric sensation similar to the effects of alcohol or certain drugs.
While these theories offer potential explanations, it's worth mentioning that the science behind the attraction to the scent of gasoline is still not conclusive. Limited research has been conducted on the topic, and scientists continue to uncover new mysteries surrounding the complexities of our sense of smell. Therefore, while some may enjoy the smell of gasoline, it's essential to be mindful of its potential risks and avoid intentional exposure to harmful odors like gasoline for too long. Now, I think this is an interesting topic because it does bring back some memories for me, and I'll mention them when we get to that part in the article. Our title again is The Sweet, Dangerous Attraction of Gasoline. Here we have some words that are kind of opposites of each other or somehow in conflict. So sweet, you're thinking of something wonderful and desirable, but then we see dangerous, and they go, uh-oh, better watch out. Attraction. And so it's attracting you to it while there may be some danger involved. So I think this is kind of a provocative title myself.
I do too. I read this and it made me want to read more. It's a good use of kind of balancing words. And I will say, sometimes you read a title and it's like, okay, I'm just going to read this. But this really compelled me to want to look at it.
Yeah, me too. Okay, our first paragraph. There is something about the sweet smell of gasoline that appeals to many people. I don't know if I have ever heard that smell called sweet. On the other hand, we all recognize that smell. And maybe once we smell it, we know it's not good for us, but we might go, and we're kind of attracted to it, even though we don't want to be.
I agree that I had never thought of gasoline as smelling sweet, but I do agree that I like the smell and it is attractive. As a kid, I assumed it wasn't good for you, but I didn't know that for certain. And actually, I would walk by gas stops and just take a big old sniff of air.
Yeah, I think a lot of people did that. That reminds me of something similar, where something similar happened. And that was in class. When I was young, they used this purple ditto machine. It printed out purple. And right after it was printed out, it had a very strong smell of alcoholic spirits. And it wasn't like an alcoholic drink. It had a very specific smell. And the teachers were often late, and they just printed up the handouts, and we got them. And everybody was putting them up to their nose because it had such a special smell. And that also was spirit-based.
Yeah, when I was a kid, we used those. Those went out of fashion by the time I was in high school. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I remember getting those warm dittos. It's like a purplish ink, right?
They weren't warm; they were cool.
I remember the paper being warm, but I could be. So I was at the end of the dittos. So I wonder if I'm not conflicting the two memories here. As you say, they're cool. And I'm thinking, no, they were warm.
Because it was alcohol.
But it's alcohol, right?
And alcohol evaporates quickly, so they were cool.
That's right. So when you say this, I'm thinking, I wonder if I'm not smushing two memories together,
Maybe.
getting like
Xerox copies are hot.
Copies
Those
are
warm,
and but I'm thinking of the idea of like holding the paper and smelling it, and I'm just smushing two ideas together. Isn't that funny?
They were cool. No, it's not funny. It's very logical. But anyway, that's another smell that we knew probably wasn't good for us because it smelled like alcohol. It was some kind of alcohol-based chemical, but we couldn't resist it. So that often happens with gasoline. All right, so it appeals to many people. Appeals to, this is a good verb to use. It appeals to, it attracts people. People like it. Next sentence, gasoline is made from a mixture of compounds, including benzene, which is added to enhance the performance and fuel efficiency of gasoline. I knew that gasoline contained benzene, and I didn't know that much about it. I also know that because I speak German, that gasoline in German is called Benzin. And that's why I originally said benzene, and Chris corrected me. In English, we say benzene. And I also knew that it was carcinogenic and dangerous, but I didn't really know the reason why it was in gasoline. So now we know that it improves the performance of your car and also the fuel efficiency of the gasoline, meaning you can use less gasoline and probably drive further. And gasoline is not just one thing. It's not just refined petroleum. It contains a number of things. So now we know one of those is benzene. Okay. So this chemical is largely responsible for gasoline's unique smell. Now, this is the first time I ever knew that. That's where the smell comes from benzene.
So let's look at the word compound from our last sentence. This is one of those words that, generally speaking, you know what it means in English. It's like two things together. But scientifically, it does mean something a little bit different. It's just not two things slammed together. These are two different elements with unique properties, and then they're mixed in a way to create a second substance.
Okay. And let's go on to the next sentence. Benzene has a naturally sweet scent that our noses are highly sensitive to. And if you've ever smelled gasoline or exhaust from a car, you know that our noses are very sensitive to it. You will get that smell. You will sense that odor right away.
Pay attention to all the words about different scents, smells, everything about your nose in this article. There are a number of words we'll come across, and you'll find that there are actually many more on top of that. So pay attention to them. Write them on the side of your magazine. They're a good way of kind of just keeping a way of seeing how foreigners might describe scents in our language here. And, of course, pay attention. C in scent does not have like a K sound. We don't say secant. That's wrong.
It takes just 1 part per million in the air for the human nose to detect its presence. So just a teeny tiny bit of benzene mixed up in the air, and we can already smell it. We're very sensitive to it. Interestingly, in the past, benzene was used in aftershaves and even as a solvent for removing caffeine from coffee. The first one is scary enough. The second one is really scary because aftershaves, that's something that a man might put on after they have shaved in order to smell nice, and it also helps heal all these nicks that you have after you've shaved your face. It's meant to smell nice. So you'll be taking a deep whiff of it. If there's benzene in there, you're smelling something that's not good for you. That's bad enough, but when you think of caffeine in coffee, that's something that we're drinking, and they're putting benzene in to process this thing we're going to drink. That is really scary. That reminds me of, say, in China and probably in the West as well, women used to use lead as makeup because it's white and it would whiten their skin. And they used it regularly with no thought to what it would do to them. I'm sure many women died of lead poisoning or got cancer or got brain damage because of this. There's a lot of things we use that we think are fine but are actually dangerous. This is one of them.
Yeah, lead-based makeup would turn your skin kind of a gross gray color. And so in many ways you became more reliant upon it because your natural skin got so deteriorated that you needed the makeup with lead in it to cover up how disgusting your skin looked naturally.
Which would further damage it.
That's right. You're stuck in this nasty loop. Now, the solvent for removing caffeine from coffee is really interesting. It's how we ended up with Senka, if you remember that product.
Yes, I do.
That's where it originally came from, is that was benzene in the coffee to remove the caffeine. And that's where you got Senka from.
So it was back in the Sanka age, they were still using benzene?
For a period of time. Kind of like aftershave. It was a short period of time where benzene was in aftershaves and then in Sanka. And then later they had other processes. I think in the 70s they were using something else for Senka. But isn't that crazy? That was a product so widely used.
It is.
People are drinking benzene in their coffee.
I know that now they are still using strong chemicals. They still are. If you're going to, even to make regular coffee, you need a strong chemical to process coffee beans. So, yeah, okay, we won't get really into that. I wasn't drinking coffee at that time and certainly not decaffeinated. But it never made sense to me that people would insist on still drinking coffee if they didn't want caffeine.
Well, it's the problem of non-alcoholic beer, right?
That is also goofy.
Decaffeinated coffee. Yeah, it's just
skip the beer, have something else.
Yeah, go all the way or have something else.
Yeah, drink water, drink juice, but what? Okay, let's continue. However, these applications were brief due to benzene's classification as a known carcinogen and its potential risks when it is inhaled in high concentrations or over extended periods. We've already discussed how dangerous benzene is, but here are ways to talk about it. So brief is a short period of time. Due to, because of. Classification, that means you put it in a group describing some of its qualities. The harder word is carcinogen. This one is worth learning because we're finding that a lot of things that make life really convenient in modern life turn out to be carcinogens. For example, coloring agents. All kinds of artificial colors have been found to be carcinogens. So if you are eating something with an unnatural color, you probably should think twice because that coloring agent may well be carcinogenic, means it causes cancer. And then potential risks, that means you may not be in trouble immediately, but over time it may cause a serious problem. Inhaled is to breathe in. Inhale, exhale is the opposite. High concentrations means there's a lot of it in a small amount of another medium. So high concentrations, it's just there's a lot of it, it's quite dense. Over extended periods, that means, like I said, it may not happen immediately, but over long periods of time, you may find out that eventually it accumulates and becomes dangerous.
Now, Karen went ahead and explained the sentence very thoroughly. Definitely the key word here is carcinogen. It causes cancer. This is a word you want to pay attention to because every time we talk about it, it's pretty serious.
That's right. And that is a very good reason for trying to eat food in its most natural state as possible. So try to eat just plain food that has not been processed. Avoid processed food because they almost always add something as a preservative, as coloring, all kinds of things that are not good for you.
All right, let's take a look at our next paragraph, and we will see some theories as to why benzene might be attractive to some people. There are two theories that attempt to explain why individuals are attracted to the smell of gasoline.
Okay, now I'm interested. Why the heck would we like something not good for us?
So we also had that word scent a little earlier. Now we have smell. That's a really basic one. Write those down. And let's look at our next sentence. The first revolves around the power of scent to arouse vivid memories. Now, the word vivid just means very strong, and of course, this isn't something that you vaguely remember, kind of like when Karen was describing the blue or purple ditto paper, and I said it was warm, and Karen says, no, it was cold.
It was
and
cool.
Very, very faint in my memory, these ideas, because I was so young when they were around. But a vivid memory, I can tell you very clearly of times where I would just hang my head out of my mom's red Chevy and just smell the air. Very easy, very quick to recall.
Okay.
Let's continue. Smells can trigger specific recollections, associating familiar aromas with nostalgic experiences.
Now, Chris has pointed out we have many different words for smells. We've got scent, we've got smell. Now we have aroma. Aroma is usually something pleasant. Then we have another one, odor, O-D-O-R. Pay attention to that one because a lot of people, when they want to say O-R-D-E-R, order, I'm going to order my food, or just follow the order, they will say follow the odor, which means to follow the smell. So if you are saying O-R-D-E-R, say order. If you're talking about a smell and usually a bad smell, it's odor.
You'll see odor in the very last sentence of this article. And just like Karen said, aromas are usually positive. I usually think of something like apples and cinnamon as a very nice aroma. I don't generally think of gasoline this way.
I think of coffee as having a nice aroma.
Yeah, I agree. Waking up and my mom making coffee in the morning when I was a little kid, positive aromas with nostalgic experiences, hearing the automatic coffee maker. Those are all very vivid memories with nostalgic experiences for me. I don't think I have this with gasoline. I have to say I don't personally buy this theory. Benzene has been used for a very long time, and it's been known about for thousands of years. When I see people saying there is nostalgic experiences for gasoline, I imagine them thinking like you're going on like a summer vacation in the back of mom and dad's station wagon, this kind of story. I don't personally buy this one,
okay.
but maybe for some people.
I have an example. All right, so in high school, in my first, I was in 11th grade then. I went on a trip to Mexico, and we lived in host families and stuff. We stopped in Mexico City before we went to the place we were going to stay for a month, which was Puebla. And so in Mexico City, they've got a very, very high concentration of humans and cars and pollution. It's one of the most polluted cities in the whole world. When birds fly over Mexico City, they often drop dead.
Wow.
The pollution is so serious. Wow. So we spent a little time in Mexico City, and because of all the cars, we inhaled a lot of car exhaust. So one time when we were back in Minnesota, there was a car that apparently needed some repair, and it just went whoom by, and it left, it just puffed out a lot of heavy exhaust. And there were three of us who had been on the same trip. The three of us looked at each other and smiled and said, Mexico City.
That's funny.
So there's my example.
That's funny. It's like it'll bring up a specific memory.
Yeah, and it was a pretty positive memory, I would say, even though the air was awful.
Okay, let's continue to our next theory here. The second theory focuses on the physical effect of benzene on nerve receptors. So you know nerves. The receptors are just the things at the end of the nerves that allow that electrical signal, that impulse to be accepted and then passed on to the next nerve. It's like the little hand that grabs it from the last nerve.
And sends it to the brain.
Our next sentence, inhaling benzene and other hydrocarbons can temporarily suppress the nervous system.
Now, we're in very dangerous territory here.
So hydrocarbon it just means it's made out of carbon and hydrogen. If you know anything about benzene, it's C6H6. That's probably the only thing I remember from organic chemistry. And suppress means to weaken something. Our next sentence, this may result in a euphoric sensation similar to the effects of alcohol or certain drugs.
Which will interest a lot of people. You can get a little bit high on it.
Be careful of euphoric. Let's go to our next paragraph.
While these theories offer potential explanations, it's worth mentioning that the science behind the attraction to the scent of gasoline is still not conclusive.
It's not settled science. We don't know for sure.
Limited research has been conducted on the topic, and scientists continue to uncover new mysteries surrounding the complexities of our sense of smell. So it kind of repeats the same information. We still are not sure why this happens, everything that's involved. Therefore, while some may enjoy the smell of gasoline, it's essential to be mindful of its potential risks and avoid intentional exposure to harmful odors like gasoline for too long.
Okay, so there's our last word there, too, odor, which Karen explained very nicely a little earlier. We have 3 questions.
Number 1, why is benzene added to gasoline?
So the answer is C, to improve the effectiveness of gasoline.
Number 2, why is the smell of gasoline attractive to people?
So this is a theory, so we have some ideas, and we saw 2 of them. And our answer here is B, it can bring back memories and associations.
Which it definitely did for me, reminding me of Mexico City, and also for you, reminding you of taking a big whiff at the gas station in that red Chevy.
Let's go to number 3 here.
According to the passage, which of the following is not true?
And our last answer today is A, the use of benzene in aftershaves continued for a long time. That's not true. It was for a short time.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, or Sanka. Sanka is definitely the shocking one for me. So, Karen, I have a word game for us.
Okay.
I'm going to fire some rapid-fire words about smelling at you, and I want you to tell me an associated word, food, whatever it may be. Okay, So smell.
Nose.
Nose. Scent.
Perfume.
Aroma.
Coffee.
And odor.
Underarms.
All right, those are the ones in our story. We're not done yet. How about fragrance?
Perfume.
Perfume. How about bouquet?
Flowers.
Flowers. Stench.
Garbage.
Stink.
Poop.
Musk.
Perfume again.
And our last one, tang.
A drink.
Tang is a weird one, isn't it?
Because it's a powdered drink for breakfast.
Yeah, the orange one, right?
That's right. But tang is something kind of sour or tart.
Review those words at the end here. They're pretty easy to spell, and they all have Karen's word association here. It's a good idea whether they're good or bad.
That is a really good point. When I record with Wesley, we often talk about how important associations are. A word is not just the meaning you find in the dictionary. It's the thing that a native speaker thinks of when they hear this word.
Hear, hear. I agree.
And that's it for today. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.